Hey everybody, welcome to episode 158 of Build That House with me, Jim. I'm Mr. Jim, coming at you. Now here is something that I've always wanted. A windmill palm. And today, I decided to go for it. And I'm going to plant it right here. Right in there. Boom. And with any luck, one day there will be a big palm tree here. I may be not around, but there will be a big palm tree there. So I'll let you take a look at that after it's in the ground. And it's like a pet. Now I have to water it all the time and take care of it. But I'm prepared to do that. It's 158. Let's go. All right, guys, there it is in all its glory. That is pretty much the cheapest entrance level windmill palm you're going to be able to get. The cost of lunch, let's just say. I'm hoping that it will do well there. It's absolute full southern exposure and pretty good dirt there too. And I've given it a nice mulch, not only a firm mulch on the top, but I've also blended some of the natural soil there with other composted mulch. This is a family heirloom that my grandfather poured, and it's been around in the family for decades. So I was lucky enough to get that about 30 years ago, and I have another spot planned for that because it's a little congested here, but I know just where that's going to go, except it's no easy task moving it. So eventually those two things will be out of there, and hopefully this palm will grow through the years. All right, here I am down at the old building supply place. This project is going to interest you. I don't know if you've ever heard of Juliet Railing. It's what they have in New York in tall buildings where there is no deck. You just go up to your window and there's a railing. So I thought, why not do that on the front of the house where the big sliders are? So I've ordered this metal here. This is 1.5 by 1.5, 3/16 steel. And essentially, I've brought my own grinder and I'm cutting it in half so it can fit in the old truck there. Let's see how this one goes. This is a little bit out of my wheelhouse for sure, but I just couldn't resist. I thought it was the coolest idea. All right, so the dust has settled on last week's whirlwind electric extravaganza. And you can see kind of what happened. There's wires everywhere doing all different kinds of things. I like how the electrician used heavier, thicker gauge wire for the kitchen plugs. And I didn't skimp on the... Everybody always said, put lots of kitchen receptacles in. You're going to need them. So I just went like literally every 4 feet. And he's used this extra thick wire, and he tells me that that's what you want, because when you're running a toaster, a coffee maker, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where you're running multiple high-consuming things, you know, like a toaster oven or a pot of boiling water. You need that extra power, I guess. And then we also have 2 plugs going in on this. You can see, maybe you can see a little line here where I've sketched out the perimeter of the kick for the island, and I'll drill 2 holes through the concrete. And he's also got yellow wires that'll serve this on either end. So if you want to do some baking or whatnot, you can set up on the island. But anyway, I'm very happy with what happened last week. It's crazy. This is kind of the deal with what they call the TV box. Has your standard receptacle in it, and then the Cat 5e wire, which will hardwire the TV. And then if I'm not mistaken, you can also run an HDMI cable. That kind of looks like the shape of an HDMI. That might be where you tuck an HDMI cable in, plug it into the back of your TV, put in your play station or your game center or anything that you'd want to add using an HDMI cable. Keeps it nice and clean. All you see is a TV on the wall. So the beauty of building a house is being able to take care of all these things while the walls are wide open. Yeah, there's wires everywhere. These bathroom ones, same thing, heavier gauge wire. Not really sure why, but they're also on their own breaker. Apparently, bathroom receptacles have to be on their own breaker. Interestingly, factoid too that he told me is that the fridge has to be on a separate breaker, like over here. And the reason that is that if you ever had two things on the same breaker, including the refrigerator, and you pop the breaker and you didn't know, your refrigerator would defrost and you'd lose all your contents. Strangely enough, the dishwasher is the same way, and I don't really know why. What the dangerous thing about having your dishwasher go down without you knowing. So there are some things, and then of course the really heavy duty 220 for the oven. And I'm wiring this thing for both scenarios. There's the natural gas, there's the 220. Whatever oven you want to use, whatever stove you want to use, we're ready for it. It's pretty exciting. We got lights everywhere, wires everywhere. And he made me add a few lights because he thought that, like this room here, I only had one light in. He said, hey dude, you need 2 lights. So did a little additional blocking and got that going. Yeah, look at it. These dudes blasted this place off. 3 days, 4 days for the journeyman, 3 days for the apprentice, and then of course I was full on doing as much as I possibly could with what experience I have, and was able to add a little bit for sure, but I didn't. Not an electrician. They just told me what to do and I would do it. Gonna build a little deck out here. There's a massive deck planned, but that's just not in the budge right now. So I'm just gonna build a little tiny walkout deck, and I can go out there and barbecue for the next few years until I can get around to building these big decks. This Juliet balcony scenario that I'm going to embark on tomorrow with my buddy that I've known for years, and he's a man of many talents. We're gonna put a Juliet balcony here. So basically, there's gonna be a railing here immediately. So this is your deck, your living room. Wow, that's bright. That's not gonna work. Now, as you saw earlier today, I picked up this metal that I ordered. 3/16 by 1.5 by 1.5 angle iron, and 2-inch 1/4 inch flat bar, they call that. And these are the raw materials that we will be using in conjunction with this rebar that I've already picked up. And this is clearly the cheapest metal you can buy. Oh, wow. That is some heavy stuff. So these are going to be the banisters, because it's affordable. Now, about 2 or 3 years ago, I did some work for a friend, and he said, instead of being paid, do you want this welder that I bought and never even opened? So I said, I've always wanted to know how to weld. So I said, sure. And it's a MIG welder, and it takes 110. So this is a local or national brand, Canadian Tire. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I'm going to give it a whirl. And my buddy's going to show me how to do it. I picked up a sheet of this 3/4 inch plywood to make a jig for laying out the Juliet railing. And you might say, why is it so nice? Well, this side might get tarnished a little bit or burnt, but the other side will be in perfect condition. And it's the exact same type of material that I'm using in the mechanical room. So I'll reuse that. And that way, instead of having a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, I'll have actually something I can use later on. I think someone gave me this about 10 years ago. I've never used it before. It's a metal chop saw. So all these things that I've been storing for years are coming to fruition. And I look forward to this one because I don't know anything about welding, anything about metal. I've always wanted to have that in my arsenal of skills. So I look forward to learning about it for sure. And I also look forward to this project. I'm going to do a nice wood railing on the top. And, you know, you'll see it as it progresses. I'll give you an update as we carry on. But so tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, it's another project, folks. And then you know me, I like to have 2, 3, 4, 5 projects on the go at once. I'm still finishing that bench or that shelving thing that I was working on. I never quite got the last picture in last episode, but I'll get that done. I'm going to wear this. It's almost done. What I want to do here is use these the 3.5 by 3.5, otherwise known as 4 by 4 posts, but they're actually 3.5 by 3.5. And I want to have a walkway here with 3/4 inch crushed gravel. Again, landscape fabric, the crushed rock, and then that'll join up with this area here. And then the reason I used the big heavy duty wood for the border is so that when I accidentally drive on it, it doesn't mash up a piece of 2x6 or 2x8 on end like I've used here. This is a piece of 2x8. And, you know, when you drive on this, it'll take a little bit of abuse, but this will take a lot more. So, Project 1, the Juliet balcony. Project 2. I have a bunch of homework that I need to get done in the basement for the electrical bros to come back. And they'll be back in like 3 weeks, a month. So I got a bunch of stuff that I got to get ready down in the basement for the final knockout punch on the electrical. So it's all on, full bore at 100%, driving it into 110% the best I can, working 10-12 hours a day these days and loving every hour. This lawn really came up nicely that I was working on in the spring. I kept overseeding and overseeding and overseeding and more compost and more overseed. And I've been watering it the best I can. And I gotta say, it has really come together quite nicely. But I'm not done yet. I want it to fill in even a little bit more. So, let's not forget this project. Now, I've talked a little bit about this mega deck that's going to go here, but in the interim, I built a small deck, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to have a little deck just for a barbecue. And when the time comes, I'll disassemble both these decks and build the big deck that was originally planned. So that I hope to start soon. I'm going to do the same thing on the front of the house. I'm going to build a temporary entrance deck. And let's go take a quick boo at that. I'm going to build a small platform on temporary footing blocks. And then I'm going to manhandle this big iron staircase somehow into position. I may even hire a crane if I have to. I'd rather play it safe than kill myself moving this thing. It weighs many, many hundreds of pounds. Back when we did the excavation, we were moving it around. We ripped this thing off with the excavator. So guess what? I just happen to have a little more of that stuff in that recent project. And I'm hoping with my new welding skills, I'll be able to repair that that tread support, and then weld some upright railing supports on here, because all it is stairs, which really is quite dangerous. So there should be, and then maybe like a wood railing, or I don't know. But I'm hoping to learn how to weld on this venture. And if I learn how to weld, I'll be able to do that and get rid of those darn stairs. And then the new glorious palm tree can grow up over the next 10, 20 years. So the Juliet rails, temporary deck on the front, including that really quite awesome metal stairs that a buddy gave me 3 or 4 years ago when I first started construction. And I just thought the thing was awesome. And I noticed it had been kicking around his yard for like 10 years. And I said, hey man, can I have that thing? And he said, go for it. All right. Got the jig made up here and laying out the Juliet railing. It looks more like a mining screening device than anything, but it's kind of cool. These are going to be the spindles, and what can I say? I drilled some holes in the top rail here, right along the top, for a wood handrail to be attached to the top, and then I drilled some holes in the bottom rail for weep holes. So if any water builds up there, you know, it won't sit in the angle iron. But metalwork is a completely different animal, and I gotta say, it's certainly appealing to me. I've never really done a lot of metalwork before. It's kind of like woodwork, but less forgiving and much harder to cut. Yeah, so here we go. It's coming along. I prepped up all the pieces for both units. All right, guys. I've done a lot of talking for the last 20 minutes. I think I'm going to upload this. I had another meeting with the electrician today about part 2 of the electrical, and the big boss came by. And he suggests that I put this down here in line with these so they match. And then again, this one here down. And that makes sense. His concern was that if you have tiles or whatever, it's not exactly uniform. So I think I'll take his advice, drop those down. And he basically briefed me on everything I can do in the basement that'll speed the whole process up before they come back. YouTube people, it's always a pleasure. I'll see you in episode 159. Thanks for joining me. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you in the next one.